Hi, my name is Jessica Abear, and I am originally from New Orleans, Louisiana, but I live in Florida now. And it is like 11 o'clock here in Florida, and I just can't sleep. And whenever I can't sleep, I just start praying and asking God just to give me peace. I ask Him to give me rest, and my mind is just racing with all kinds of thoughts. So, usually, whenever I can't sleep, I just pray. Well, tonight, my mind started going back to, I just started thinking about Jesus and how grateful I am for everything He did for me, and what I would do if I saw Him, and honestly, it doesn't put me to sleep. It gets me more excited. So I started thinking tonight, like, how my journey started, and I thought this needs to be shared. So I want this message to get back to Rick Warren, Pastor Rick Warren, who wrote The Purpose-Driven Life. So I know, like with Kevin Bacon, there's a 6 degrees of separation, whatever. So one of my friends out there is going to have access to Pastor Rick Warren and be able to pass this, tag him, send it to him, email it or whatever, and get it in his hands. So Rick Warren, I just want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, with everything that I exist in, thank you for writing The Purpose-Driven Life. So I was born and raised Catholic. I'm from New Orleans, and that's what I did. It's what I knew. Well, as I grew older and I started watching, movies, and I started reading the Bible and started my own personal relationship with God and my own journey, I would sit in that church and I just felt like a desire for something more. I just knew that I've experienced God on a different level, and I just didn't feel like I was getting Him in a Catholic church. There's nothing wrong with the Catholic Church. I'm just saying that wasn't for me. So I started just going in and out of churches until I found one, and it was Fellowship Church in Zachary. And I had just had my son, so I was really trying to find God, mostly for him. I knew that if I was able to explain who God is and teach my son about Him, then I would be able to. Then I would know Him. I feel like when you understand something enough to teach it, you understand it for yourself. So my goal was just to get there with Him, and so I went to that church on New Year's Day in 2012. I went to church and I sat in the very last row, and he said, the pastor was talking about tithing and the purpose-driven life, how the whole church was going to go through the purpose-driven life. So immediately I tithed my last check I got. And then I went and downloaded the audio book of Purpose-Driven Life. Well, when I did that, instead of, every day reading one chapter, so you're supposed to go through one chapter of the book for 40 days. Instead of doing that, I listened to 4 hours of book every day for 29 days. I'm like all or nothing. So I got the Audible. It's 4.5 hours, and I listened to it. At the time, I was working for my parents, and I was driving back and forth from Baton Rouge to New Orleans. It's about an hour and a half. So I was spending a lot of time in the car, and I just jumped all in, and I was listening to The Purpose-Driven Life 4 hours every single day. Someone told me that when you get personal growth stuff, CDs, listen to them until you know what they're going to say next. So basically, that was my goal, is to memorize it. So on January 29th of 2012, I left Church of the King in Mandeville, and I was driving up to the South Shore on the Causeway, and I was listening to The Purpose-Driven Life. It was my dad's birthday, and all of a sudden, my life completely flashed before my eyes. Every single moment that I had pain or hurt or just anything in my life, that I was on my knees. I was crying, pain. God showed up in my car, physically showed up like a flaming ball of fire. I just saw His face. It was fire. And then there were like 5 other faces around it. And He was looking at me, and He was like, I am with you. I am with you. Yes, I was with you. Yes, I was with you. And He would show me something else. Yes, I was with you. Another time. Yes, I was with you. I was with you. And He just continued to show me that. And It was so amazing. So, I was 30 at the time, and, I didn't have a good relationship with my dad, not the one I had dreamed of. And I just drove up to my dad. It was his birthday. And I got out the car, like, just snot sobbing, crying. And I just told my dad, I was like, I forgive you. I love you. At that point, I had realized that I was trying to seek approval and acceptance from my Father on earth when it was my Father in heaven who I wanted to please. And ever since that day, my life has not been the same. God has just done amazing things. He's amazing. But Rick Warren, this is a testimony. I pray that it'll be used. I pray that people would hear this and they would want to know their purpose, that they would want to know, have a relationship with God, that they would want to know what this book is. And I pray that they would want to have an encounter with Jesus on earth. I pray all those things, God. I pray that the same thing that happened to me would happen to 5 million people after watching this video. I believe it's possible. I know this sounds crazy, but I swear if you just start seeking after God with all of your heart, you're going to find Him. And when you do, your life will never be the same.